And joining us now in the wake of Operation Sindoor, when the Indian Air Force is squarely in the spotlight, is a man who has been in many hot seats, whether it is in a combat cockpit or the helm of affairs in the Indian Air Force. In fact, he was the Chief of the Air Staff right before the present Chief. It's my honor to welcome Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhary onto India Matters tonight. Thank you very much, Air Chief Chaudhary, for your time. This is a time when the Air Force is front and center. Everyone is talking about Operation Sindoor. The evidence is out there. We'll come to some of the other matters that are making the headlines today. But I wanted to start not only by welcoming you here onto your first major interview since your retirement last year, but also to ask you about your opening assessment, your first words, Air Chief Chaudhary, on Operation Sindoor and what we know about it.
I think the trust reposed in the Indian Air Force by the nation as a whole was fulfilled in all measures by the kind of action that we've seen over those 90 hours. The primary roles of the Indian Air Force during an offensive action like this have all seen complete success in all aspects. And I think every single member from the chief down to every operator in the field deserves a pat on his or her back for the excellent work that was done.
We're calling it, the most kinetic non-war military operation, perhaps in India's history, Air Chief Chaudhary. Would you agree with that assessment that, given the scale, scope, depth of what the Indian Air Force achieved, that would be an accurate description?
I would not say very accurate because, it is a mix of both kinetic as well as non-kinetic means that were employed during this short skirmish. Primarily, the emphasis or what we saw as in, when we debrief on what happened during those few days was that it was more of an use of long-range weapons, both air-to-ground, air-to-air and surface-to-air. So this is a new paradigm in which the contact between opponents, physical contact was minimal, close combat was very less, majority of the combat was fought beyond visual ranges.
Talk to us a little bit about those long-range strikes, Air Chief Chaudhary, because, as we know, in peacetime, before conflict, before combat operations, the Air Force, including under you, is constantly practicing precisely for this kind of thing. You don't suddenly acquire this capability. And under your stewardship as well, I remember there were many firepower exercises where precisely this kind of thing, long-range offensive strikes, deep inside adversary territory, has been practiced again and again and again, sir.
Absolutely. So the old adage which says that the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. I think our training has been curriculum, both academic as well as practical training, has always emphasized that we will do the way we train every day. For that, you are aware we do a large number of exercises within our commands, inter-commands. We've done it with friendly foreign nations. Last year, we capped it by doing Tarang Shakti, a multilateral exercise within our country. There's a lot to learn from these exercises. This is as far as the offensive action goes. Delivery of weapons is a thing which our pilots, our aircrew, do on a daily basis. Some may not be live delivery. Some of it happens on simulators. But apart from carrying live weapons on a daily basis, we practice. The Air Force practices exactly what is going to happen in a conflict like this. When it comes to air defense measures, you are aware that the prime responsibility of the air defense of the nation rests with the Air Force. We have been on alert 24/7, 365 days a year. Our radars are churning all the time. Our fighter pilots are on operational readiness platforms. Our surface-to-air guided weapons are on short alert. And so it's in continuous 24-hour basis at which we are working, and we're training for a conflict like this if ever it has to happen again.
Air Chief Chaudhary, an interesting question that we've been getting from our viewers ever since pictures came out of the three chiefs in the war room during Operation Sindoor has been, what are the chiefs talking about? What are they, who are they in touch with? What are they doing? Obviously, these are secret issues, they're classified issues, but can you explain to the public, in those hours and minutes, what would the chiefs be doing, specifically the Air Chief?
I think the primary role of the Air Force in such a situation was targeting.
Yeah.
And for targeting, the first sine qua non is accurate intelligence. And after the delivery of the weapons, it is the bomb damage assessment. So it's a continuous loop that you gather intelligence, you fire your weapons, you carry out bomb damage assessment, and then you reassess whether the target needs to be addressed once again or not. So probably this is the kind of thing which happens all the time in an operations room. Apart from that, the live air picture of the entire subcontinent is available, and through the help of the air defense commanders and the others there, they are made aware as to what the air situation, the air picture, overall air picture is. For example, the tracking of the civilian airline close to Lahore during the time of retaliatory fire, or closure of airspace, or something is monitored continuously in such ops rooms.
The very interesting aspect, of course, of this particular operation, Air Chief Chaudhary, as you've no doubt seen, is the vast amounts of battle damage imagery that has been generated by independent satellites and observers of exactly what the Indian Air Force struck. This is not up for debate. We've seen these things mired in claims and counterclaims in the past, whether it was Balakot or earlier. This time it was there for the whole world to see. What did you make of that?
Absolutely. You see the precision with which the Indian Air Force has struck the targets, the designated targets, the kind of damage they have done, and the capability to inflict such kind of damage if the need arises. Was shown to the whole world. So battle damage assessment, this time definitely we had access to far better imagery, both in the public domain as well as within the confines of the military. So access to such high quality imagery gives confidence in our own capabilities to be able to strike accurately on the designated targets.
Would I be right in saying, and I'm not trying to be mischievous here, Air Chief Chaudhary, but would I be right in saying that given that such clear imagery is there in the public domain from publicly available sources, the imagery that must be of a more classified nature must be even more dramatic, giving us even more data about what we actually achieved?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, clipped answer there. Okay, I'll move on to the next one, but I hear you loud and clear. The air defense that you talked about, Air Chief Chaudhary, was no small feat. Obviously the fighter aircraft, the strikes, the battle damage is what has become more visible and easily accessible. But the somewhat lesser sung heroes of this were the air defense units that did a stellar job in preventing any air intrusions, etc. We do know that the air defense shield in many ways reached a great measure of maturity under your stewardship of the Air Force. We saw the S-400s come in while you were there. Those saw combat action this time as well. Just give us a sense of how important this Agni Pariksha, as it were, was for our air defense network, sir, because it was tested to the hilt.
Yeah, firstly, let me tell you that we will take no credit away from the air defense operators.
Yeah.
I think they did a stellar job. Their performance was just simply outstanding. Now, coming to the entire gamut of air defense and how we've grown over the ages. Firstly, of course, you are aware of the new systems that we inducted, like you just mentioned, the S-400 or the MR-SAM. At the lower level of the spectrum, we have inducted large number of counter-UAS systems, both hard kill as well as soft kill systems. And a very heartening thing to note is that most of these systems have been designed, developed and manufactured by small industries within our country.
Yes.
So this was a huge boost to the MSMEs when we started buying off the shelf and helping them in designing and developing a large number of counter UAS systems. So when you look at the whole spectrum of air defense, we need to defend against ballistic missiles down to small drones which are flying at 30 kmph maybe. So we cannot have one system that will meet all the requirements there.
Correct.
So the idea is to integrate all the available systems. And I think the integrated system has worked very well this time.
Indeed, it has, and and you're right. Credit must go where it is due, and it must be a source of professional satisfaction to you also, Air Chief Chaudhary, that many of the decisions taken in the Air Force to invest in indigenous drone products and capabilities, both of an offensive nature as well as counter drone measures. All of those were tested this time, and they've come out with flying colors. How did you feel about that?
Definitely, it's very heartening to see the way these systems were utilized, the way they were, like you said, Agni Pariksha, or they were actually tried out in real combat. Some of them probably were just inducted maybe just a few months ago.
Yeah.
And all of them have proved their worth. I think the Indian industry, the small scale, the MSMEs and the startups and all that, they really require a huge pat on the back for what they've come out with.
Does this signal a new paradigm as far as drone warfare is concerned? Give us your reading of that, Air Chief Chaudhary, because not only did the Indian air defense network, especially the lower level systems, handle vast amounts of swarming drone attacks from the Pakistan side, but Indian drones did manage to penetrate, it looks like, and cause damage in several places in POK as well as Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. It appears that the era of drone warfare, for which India had been watching from the sidelines so far, is very real for us now.
It is, but still it has its limitations as of now. You see the amount of damage that a drone can inflict is quite minimal as compared to what a long-range standoff weapon can, as we've seen in this. Ideally, the force structure should be a good mix of having both standoff weapon capability, as well as, if I can use the antonym of standoff, would be probably stand-in capability in terms of drones. So drones are more attritable, more expendable, more they need to be produced in large numbers and at a very low cost, so that we can afford the attrition of these drones.
Yes.
So now an offensive action would ideally see a healthy mix of both these happening. One, to saturate the enemy air defenses, and secondly, to be able to target multiple designated points at the same time.
Very interesting, and this is something that we, of course, are going to be looking at very closely, because the Indian Armed Forces are going to be looking to acquire larger capabilities when it comes to drones of all kinds. Now I want to move on to something else that has made the headlines with the entire country's attention now on the military, its achievements in Operation Sindoor. Every word being spoken right now is being taken with an elevated sense of seriousness and attention, Air Chief Chaudhary. I know you know what I'm talking about. Your successor's words, at a function, a felicitation function today, have gone viral. I'm not going to ask you to, comment on a professional colleague's words, because I know you are way too professional for that as an Air Chief. But the reason why I bring it up is because you have said the same things and you've had the same concerns as well as the Chief, because these are things that occupy the Chief of the Air Staff and, perhaps keep him up at night as well. These are life and death issues. Unrealistic timelines, deals signed where things are delayed and don't deliver on time. One cannot help wondering, Air Chief Chaudhary, that 3 weeks after Operation Sindoor, for this to be red flag sounds like a real alarm, because it is a serious issue, sir. Could you comment on that?
No, it definitely is a serious issue. No wonder it has been flagged every now and then at all levels. The requirement to not only have surge capabilities, which I was going to bring about maybe a little later, but this question brings me to that. The ability to manufacture in numbers at the right time is very vital. Apart from that, to have capability to carry out surge production. When you just mentioned about drones, let's say I need very, very large number of drones. It is not going to be sufficient if somebody is going to give me 20 per month or 50 per year. We will need them in large numbers. So capacity building definitely has to be enhanced. And again, it's an approach which has to be jointly done by the industry, by the government, by all players together have to put a shoulder behind the wheel to get things moving much faster than they are today.
Do you feel there is an accountability issue, sir? The current air chief didn't take any names of any specific organizations, but obviously we know he was referring perhaps vicariously to HAL and the DRDO ecosystem and the DPSUs about over-promising and under-delivering or delays in those deliveries. When you talk about the need for capacity and for things to actually come on time, especially at a time when India has just fought what even the air chief has described as a war, that becomes very, very serious.
It is. It has always been a serious issue. The depletion of strength of any force has always been a matter of concern for the leadership. But the way to fill in the bins, whether it is weapons, whether it is aircraft, whether anything else, it is a time-consuming process. It does not happen overnight. Even if you have the money for it, your economy may be willing to support it, but it takes time.
Yeah.
So it requires a lot of planning, a lot of assurance from the people whom you place the orders on that they are going to deliver as promised. If they fail to deliver, or if they told us maybe some years ago that we will not be able to meet the timelines, maybe alternative paths could have been found. So that is the crucial matter here is that it's an issue of national security. Things should not be taken lightly when it comes to delayed timelines or late deliveries or substandard equipment. So this is a thing which everybody should take pride in, to be able to deliver on time, to be able to meet the QRs laid down by the services.
Yeah.
And because finally it's a part of the national defense that they are dealing with.
And your words on this can never be doubted, Air Chief Chaudhary, because one knows how strongly you have stood for homegrown system and self-reliance when it comes to this, because at the end of the day, it is the Chief of the Air Staff who has to carry the can if there is an over-dependence on imported systems. But when we talk about delays, the system that comes foremost to mind right now are the Tejas Mark 1A fighters, the improved version of the Tejas, which were to have begun deliveries, when you were the Air Chief, but now many, many months later, over a year since the time they were supposed to be delivered, not a single one has arrived. That has also become a trigger point as far as Hindustan Aeronautics Limited and the larger ecosystem is concerned, sir.
It definitely has. The idea is to now find what are the bottlenecks in the production. Just blaming it on delayed delivery of engines is one thing, but there will be some other bottlenecks that need to be identified. The expansion of the production lines or the final assembly lines needs to take place ASAP. And, we need to learn from where we failed in the past.
Yeah.
So as not to repeat the same mistakes in future. For the further orders or further deliveries, we should ensure that all the bottlenecks have been anticipated and sort of taken care of by having multiple options, multiple vendors, multiple suppliers. Reliance on one single vendor or a supplier for one component can hold up the production of the entire aircraft. So this is a thing that we need to learn from the past.
Final question to you, Air Chief Chaudhary, is on our concept AMCA stealth fighter project, the 5th generation fighter project. The government recently, cleared the execution model for that fighter. But as we know, there's a great deal of pressure because China has them. They will be supplying them to Pakistan very soon. What is your assessment of that program? Is it the only way we can go forward now?
See, we have placed all our bets on the AMCA. And I think yesterday we had Air Chief Marshal Bhaduria speaking at length on it.
Yes.
So we have reposed complete confidence in DRDO, ADA, and now, of course, the manufacturing is open to private industry as well. But we placed all our confidence in them. We said, okay, that we will, hold hands wherever required. Now the government has said that we will hold hands in terms of private players coming in. So I think now there should be no holdups in meeting the promised timelines for the deliveries
Yes.
of the prototypes at least. Yes.
It's something we look forward to very deeply, and your words on these ultra serious matters will of course be taken with the wisdom and the seriousness they deserve. And I thank you for speaking to us here on India Matters.